2017 or so, upgrading, replacing the various clay sewer lines around the city that were in bad shape. So we've been systematically working through those. We did almost all of Fain Estates, finished that a couple of years ago. So proposing this year's budget to go in and replace the sewer lines there in the area of San Benito, Santa Ana, and James Wesley, in that area. Those are really deep. Some of those lines are really deep, in some places in excess of 20 feet, and we have a lot of problems to go in. They're all in the backyards, so we have to go in people's backyards and typically bring in contractors to make repairs. So what this will do is it'll basically pipe burst those and replace the 6-inch clay with an 8-inch HDPE. And it is a continuous pipe from one manhole to the other, so you don't have to, there's no joints for intrusion or anything. So they estimated about $800,000 when Greg did the budget, and then Century Form's budget came in at, I think the actual budget came in at $764 with a $35,000 contingency, which puts it at $799. And the contingency is just in there because of the depth of the sewer lines. We don't know what that problem we might run into here or there.
So they won't be digging these up, the pipe works?
Well, they will have to dig because they have to connect the service line to the new pipe once it's installed.
But
So
it
they
goes
will
to
have
the
to,
ends.
yeah, they'll do that at each property's connection point.
Okay.
So they do have to do that, but they won't trench the entire length of the pipe. It would be a nightmare to trench that deep.
Where's the new line gonna be, in the street?
No, it's gonna be,
Gonna be in the back?
they'll basically, so the process is they go in and they take the 8-inch pipe and they take it, weld it, is the term, weld it together. If it's like 500 feet between manholes, they'll weld a 500-foot section. And then they run a chain from one manhole through the line to the other manhole, and they connect it to, it looks like a big bullet, a big blank. And they'll hook it to it, and the pipe is hooked to that, and then they pull that through the clay, and it breaks the clay and pulls a new pipe through it.
Got it.
And they pull it from one to the other. That way they don't have to come, because the open trench 20 feet plus, you would be talking about.
Well, it's already at the depth it needs to be.
So it's
for
already at the
drainage.
depth, it just pulls the new line through the old line.
Yeah, it's
So
good.
it's minimal. So they do have to dig in each yard to make the connection to the new pipe though, for the service. But it's considerably less expensive than open cutting in places.
Yeah.
Do we pass on any cost to the homeowners for
No.
the reconnection?
No.
We handle all
Well,
that.
what we do is we will send them all out letters, rights of entry to go in. If they refuse to give us the right of entry, then they'll be responsible for hiring the plumber and making the connection.
I don't see them doing it.
Their sewer is cut off when they run that new line through.
Yeah, they typically do it immediately. It's typically done immediately, but we occasionally will have someone who will balk on the right of entry, but then we explain to them that you'll have to have a plumber on standby to come and hook you up, and they decide to let us take care of it, so.
Do they have to open that connection, or is it just going through a clean out and punctures?
No, they actually dig down to make the connection.
So if there's a busted tap, then you're repairing that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also if we find any manholes that are in bad shape or something, we can repair those, so that's part of what the contingency is. And I think they did include some manhole rehabilitation costs in the project. They actually came out. Things nice about Century Form is they're on buy board, they have their own engineers and everything, so they will come out and evaluate, and they'll determine what needs to be done, and then they'll do the proposal and draw it up. We don't have to go through having separate engineers and bidding it and all that, because it's on buy board.
Very good.
So it's a pretty cost-effective way to do this. It would cost considerably more if we tried to go more traditional route.
And we've done a significant amount already with this company.
Yes,
Do
yeah,
it the same
we
pipe first.
replaced, was Greg in here?
How
How much have we replaced leaving in Century Form?
All the clay pipe in the Spanish State subdivision has been pipe bursted through this same process. And Darden, Meadowbrook, and Brewster, it was our first contract we did, that's all been upgraded. We've done some off of McClendon, then I did a section between Old Robinson Road by Kenny Morgan's place. But the company we worked with several times, and it's a fantastic way of doing what we need to do.
Real quick on, when you did Fan Estates, that helped alleviate a lot of the sewer backup issues we had in some of those, really not that, I guess on one street. It was a huge relief to that neighborhood.
Yeah, we had some areas where pipes were collapsed and things like that, and so we get a lot of rainwater intrusion, we get backups, so it did. It also did reduce our inflow and infiltration from rain. Now, we did see that spike up this last, May with our record rains, so we gotta go out and do some smoke testing and things, but we did see a significant, couple 100,000 gallons a day reduction in rainwater. By doing that, because again, those clay pipes, they're in short lengths and fit together, and the groundwater can seep through them. Tree roots get in, and the ground shifts, and they break, and it's just, clay was kind of the standard before PVC was developed to replace that.
We good with anyone on consent?
Yes.
Alright, item 6 is consolidated 5-year lease purchase agreement with Alliance Funding Group for the purchase of a 2025 volume Volvo D11 dump truck and a 2025 Kenworth K370 truck and chassis equipped with a 2025 E5 Durapatcher for the Public Services Department at a total cost of $566,985.95.
So we did talk about the dump truck part about, using the money that we had gotten for the insurance payment on the truck that was totaled, the 1999 model, is, using it as the first year payment, and doing a 5-year purchase on that, and then, I think I saw David sitting over there too. Can I come pull up the chair? So what this item does is both these vehicles are available through purchasing co-ops. Are they both Sourcewell, or is one of them on buy board? Or?
One's buy board, the dump truck is buy board, and the Durapatcher is Sourcewell.
And we do participate in both those purchasing co-ops already. So that's where the purchase would be done, and he did seek quotes from financing companies, and it was based on utilizing the insurance payment for the dump truck for the first year payment. And so what we do is, we've done this in the past, and as soon as we close the financing, we make the first year payment up front. So instead of having that whole year's interest to the first payment, we kind of prepay. So even though it's a 5-year term, it's really paid off in 4 years. And then I think we're doing 6 years on the Durapatcher.
They're both consolidated into one
They're both 5-year.
5-year purchase.
And so the amount of the payment down for the Durapatcher will be the amount that was specified in the budget. It was already allocated for that. So there's no additional cost above the budget or the amount of insurance payment we got for the other truck to cover the first year costs. And then there are there is a lease that this is the last year in the street department. It's a little over 100,000, it'll be paid off this year, so that was, it will absorb most, it won't absorb 100% of it, but it'll absorb a good portion of this going forward.
What's the availability on them? Are you gonna be able to get them soon?
The dump truck's ready now
Mm-hmm.
at Waco, Volvo Mac,
Oh, perfect.
and the Durapatcher, we're buying the truck and chassis and then having the Durapatcher mounted to that, so that's gonna take about 9 or 10 months to get put together. It's all brand new.
You can't put it together?
I can't wait.
Yeah, me too.
Can you describe the difference or so of what we have with the current Durapatcher, the one we're getting?
Right, well, the current Durapatcher is trailer mounted, and there's a few different options where you can get a trailer mounted unit and pull with a normal heavy duty work truck, and it has a hopper in it, because the way the Durapatcher works, it uses a motor that pushes air, and the air pushes your rock and your emulsion through the wand that you use to fill the potholes with. And the rock and the emulsion mixed is what makes your permanent repair. On our current truck mounted unit, the one we bought is pulled by a dump truck. And so there's a tube that you install in the tailgate of the dump truck that feeds the rock as you need it to a small hopper on the unit. The county has, and I think, Bell Mead just bought a similar unit, but it has like a 3 cubic yard hopper on the trailer, so you don't need the dump truck. With ours, you know, a full loaded dump truck is gonna patch holes for days. This unit that we're buying now is more similar to the trailer mounted unit with the hopper. It has a 5 cubic yard hopper on the unit. It's all on the COE is a cab over truck, so you don't have a cab in front of the windshield, because the patching wand is mounted on the front of the truck instead of a guy walking behind it manually using the wand. So the biggest benefit to this unit is, like I said, the wand's mounted on the front of the truck and it's operated with a joystick from the cab. So you have front and back cameras. You've got a screen there, you can watch what you're doing, and you can do the same type work with, as you would with the wand, but you're doing it from the cab.
And with one
So
person.
it's one person.
Yeah.
Are we retaining the bumper pull?
Yes.
This just gives us the ability to get out of the potholes using quick.
Well, and it gives us
Well,
also the
it's-
ability to just respond quicker without having to use 3 people, because that's the problem with the current.
Got 3 people,
It
what we
takes
got?
3 people, because you have one guy driving the, inching forward with the dump truck, the guy in the back of the lawn, and then a trail vehicle, and make sure that nobody comes through, because
Yeah.
the guy doing the repair. So, it reduces the staffing, and since it's hard to find staffing right now, anything we can do to do more work with fewer people is definitely a plus.
Yeah.
And to clarify, we've been working with one Durapatcher.
Right.
Along forever,
Uh,
since we got the Durapatcher.
About 4 years now.
In 4 years, maybe. And we've had to do quite a bit of repair, they wear it out pretty good.
It's a wonderful machine.
Yes.
Oh, should we
It does
get
a
it?
good job.
Get it mounted sooner.
I've got pictures of the truck mounted unit if you want to see them.
Yeah.
Can you pull those up, Destiny?
Yeah, let me just go through them.
Yeah, just go through in order. So we test drove the dump truck we'll skip that, that's our current Durapatcher now.
Okay. Yeah, that's about what I remember seeing.
I just clicked on the wrong thing, sorry, can't.
So the one we're buying has a similar wand on the front, you just operate it from the seat of the cab.
This is a dump truck.
That's the biggest benefit from this dump truck, other than it being, the capacity is about 4 tons more than our current dump truck, the 2019 that we just paid off. But if you go on to the next one, Destiny,
I don't think I saved,
keep going. Oh, you had it just a second ago.
How many tons?
There's one more.
How many
Okay,
tons?
so the new design, it gives you an elliptical bed, that round smiley face bed. So that pushes all the material to the center. So when we test drove it, we brought it to the shop because we wanted to make sure it's gonna connect to our chip spreader that we chip seal roads with. When they connect, the spreader will pull that truck, and the truck will feed rock to the spreader as it needs it. Okay? The nice thing about this is that elliptical bed, it keeps all the material centered
So somebody
as
will be
you
going
use
to
it. We
scoop
have a
out.
lot of issues, and we finally got it addressed this year when we chip seal roads. If there's 2 guys on the spreader and a truck driver that's being pulled backwards, and he's trying to watch where he's going and watch the guys on the spreader, tell them when they need more rock and so forth. And because of the square bed, we have a lot of rock that spills. And then that's a lot of time and labor to stop and clean up rock.
But the guy guys are excited about this. It's
So-
nice.
The elliptical bed, it keeps that material centered so you don't have the spillage. And so, okay, you can keep going.
Finish for that
How
one.
many tons does this hold?
Up to 18.
18 tons?
Our current truck holds about 14. So that's the controls from the cab of the Durapatcher. And you just kind of keep scrolling. So it just basically works the same as our current Durapatcher.
Would you would still drive this in reverse when doing that, or
Yeah.
going forward?
Yeah.
But everything's in front of you, as a driver doing that, you,
Makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it's right in front, like I said, there's no hood in front of the cab. The cab's over the engine, so you've got a clear view of what you're doing.
Yeah.
The tank, the big tank on the back is your, emulsion. It holds the same 300 gallons as our current Durapatcher does. And then that upside down triangle, that's your 5 cubic yard hopper.
but we get a little less capacity out of the hopper than doing the dump truck in the trailer, right? So-
Oh, yeah.
But that 5 yard hopper will get us down the road, it'll fix a lot of roads.
It's, if you're doing a lot of potholes and not going from different streets, you know, running around a lot, that's a good half a day. It kind of works out to where, you know, about the time you use up what you've loaded, it's time to go to lunch and
Yeah,
get another
perfect.
load.
Yeah.
So we were concerned, even though it's a one-man operation, we worry about traffic.
Yeah.
And our current unit has flashing lights and stuff on the back, but as Craig said, you gotta have somebody back there watching so your guy doesn't get hit. With this unit, with the aero board on there, they've kinda solved that problem.
Is that a heated emulsion tank?
Yeah, so like in the wintertime, it's got internal heat blankets, so you just leave them plugged in overnight and then it's ready to go the next morning.
Very cool.
So, yeah, that's
You have one last one.
That's been our motto for the last 5 years.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
James, yeah,
Glad we can get this tool to you.
so excited.
Council good with that, staying on it, consent?
Yes.
Item 7 on is resolution 2024-012-R, casting the city votes for selection of the 500 board of directors for the Clinton County Appraisal District for 25. Craig, we have those that are in the agenda in the packet.
7 on these? Available? Oh, we have to not do. Okay, we have to not do.
So that was us providing names to them?
Yeah, we didn't make
Still
any
got-
nomination.
Yeah, we didn't make a nomination, but now we're casting our votes.
Okay.
This is the vote. So yeah, so you have, there's, in your packet, you have 7 individuals who are listed, and you have, we have 57 votes. So
We
you
can
can
divide them up
cast all of
however.
our votes for one person, you can split them and cast them for a couple of people, however you wanna do that. I don't know if they included anything about the candidate, if they send in specific information about the candidates, they just send a list of them for candidates.
Do we have some incumbents? Kennard, Perry, and Watkins.
Yeah, those are,
We don't have any backgrounds or anything on these 7 individuals that I saw in my packet.
Just ask me, Steve. Did they send any background on these candidates, any information about the candidates?
Yeah.
This is
not sure, but she is an incumbent. Are you seeing a list there, or are you on the agenda?
It's not touching it.
I do not know George Chase, Dwayne Moss, though that does sound familiar.
I know Dwayne, he's a banker, a retired banker. Dwayne's a good guy.
I'm not sure who Mildred Watkins is.
This is the board of directors, so they're gonna be the ones.
This is one that hires your appraiser.
Correct.
Hire the appraiser and the approval budget.
I would definitely say, I mean, knowing Jonathan Green and what he's done in Midwest, he's a very conservative guy, very level-headed. Talked to him on several occasions. Probably have no issue with John Card or Ben Perry. And we don't know how long Watkins has been on.
Misty, do you know?
I'm sorry.
Do you know how long Watkins has served?
I don't.
If I could interject, Dwayne Moss has been a banker here most of his life. He's probably 70-ish, and a retired banker, very well thought of in the community. A good family man, outstanding person. Yeah, he'd be a great asset to them, to any committee that he's on, that he would be good at. And Ben Perry obviously has experience, as a county commissioner, so those would be the two I really have any information on.
57? Should we give him a hold as one or split?
I recommend splitting between Dwayne Moss and Ben Perry, but that's just me.
And then green, right?
Yeah, I like Green.
Third and third and third.
Or the third, it's the,
Somebody did short change.
somebody will get
Yeah.
a number. I guess we could have
No,
stayed.
no, it's 19.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
So 19.
Jerry's job.
So I have the, good advocates.
That's it, having the county.
I know. Whip that out real quick.
It's a big math, guys.
Yeah, it is. I was like, carry the one.
I agree with those three. With 19 going to Green, Moss and Perry, is that right?
Yeah, that's good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So can we do that and move it to consent agenda item?
Yeah.
Can we put that to consent if we,
Yeah, do you want to put those on there now?
to 19, to those three?
Which three did you choose?
Ben Perry,
Dwayne Moss and Jonathan Green.
And like these.
I hear these. Okay, council, so we have a consensus to move our votes 19 apiece to Ben Perry, Dwayne Moss, and Jonathan Green,
And move it to consent.
and move this to consent.
Yes.
Okay, we'll adjourn at 6:26 for the workshop. We will reconvene at 6:30. Now? So that's what you're seeing here, is the workshop, and then we're going right into it. 3 seconds. Council ready?
Yep.
We're
Mr.
missing
Birch.
Mr. Birch. Let me give him just a minute.
Is that right? Daisy. Sounds like crazy. Is it just me?
Some WD-40 on my chair. Better start greasing that seat there too. Is it in my chair?
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. If we would please all rise for the invocation provided by Brother Jerry Friedman from Bethel Methodist Church, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord God, in this season of thankfulness, we remember that you call us to be thankful. And we have so much, Father, for which we are thankful. We look around at our community and we recognize, Father, your blessings in so many ways. We thank you, Father, for the ways that you continue to be at work in the schools, in the churches, in each of our homes and families. We thank you, Father, for those blessings. We're grateful tonight, Lord God, for our nation. We know that as the presidential vote's going on, as the other votes are going on, we thank you, Father, for the freedoms that we have in this nation. The freedom to worship, freedom to vote. The freedom, Lord God, to be able to stand up and to speak without fear of someone else putting us down. Father, tonight we are thankful to you for all of the ways that you continually show your great love for us. I pray for this council. I ask, Father, your blessings upon them. I pray, Father, for our first responders. I ask, Lord, your protection over them. And I pray, Father, for our community, that you will continue to grow us together in you. All this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Roll call, please.
Rogers,
Here.
Master George,
Here.
Eckerly,
Here.
Stigner,
Here.
McLean,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
and Birch.
Here.
Full house. Moving to citizens' comments. Ms. Linda Vaughn.
I lost it. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share. I bring you greetings from the Greater Robinson Chamber of Commerce. And first of all, I would like to say a great big thank you for giving us the opportunity, along with the Robinson Area Lions Club, to have the Halloween event in the park. It was our first time at that, and it was super, from what I understand. Unfortunately, I was out of town, but all the feedback that I've seen was amazing, and we had probably 2,000 people in attendance, which is great for a first-time event.
Wow.
So we're looking forward to possibly doing it again next year, so watch for that. Our next monthly board meeting will be November the 13th, right here in the City Hall Council Room. Our next quarterly luncheon is gonna be sometime in January at a date and location to be determined. Just watch for that on Facebook or for our calendar on our website. Our annual Christmas parade is coming up on December the 5th at 6 p.m. The theme is classic Christmas movies, and the information is already out there, and opportunity to register for floats and participation entry in the parade has already been opened up, so you can do that through the City of Robinson website. And last but not least, also date and location to be determined. We will have a semi-annual membership meeting in February. We like to have two big meetings a year. One of them, of course, is our annual banquet. and then, which will be in July. But this one is just to kind of gather our members and community together and just kind of have an open forum and let people chat and talk about things that they think that the chamber should be involved in, or, you know, ways that we can improve our community or whatever. So that will be coming up in February. So I thank you all for the opportunity to be here, and we invite you to come to any and all of our events.
Thank you, Mrs. Vaughn.
Thank you, Linda.
Kathy Herod, she's still here? Okay. Anyone else like to speak on during citizens' comments? Going. Okay, council, we have a couple presentations. First up is gonna be a proclamation for Municipal Court Week. And we have Judge Dick Kettler in attendance and Debbie Vera Cruz, our county court administrator. If y'all would please step up. Judge, how long you been in Robinson? How long have you been in Robinson?
Been all my life.
Well, we won't go that far.
Don't say how.
How long have you been judge?
I don't even know that, more than 10 years. I don't keep up with that. I just come here every
He does, and he shows up and serves, and we appreciate it. Well, today we want to recognize Municipal Courts Week. I think if anybody saw it online, I think Rich might have put it on already. I'm going to read a proclamation. A proclamation recognizing the importance of municipal courts, the rule of law, and the fair and impartial administration of justice. Whereas municipal courts play a significant role in preserving public safety and promoting quality of life in Texas, and whereas more people come in contact with municipal courts than all other Texas courts combined, and public impression of the Texas judicial system is largely dependent on the public's experience in the municipal court. And whereas the city of Robinson has hosted the municipal court since October 6th, 1970. Get it, start it. And whereas state law authorizes the municipality to either appoint or elect a municipal judge for a term of office, the Robinson Municipal Court is a state court, and its judges are members of the state judiciary. And whereas the procedures for the Robinson Municipal Court operations are set forth in the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure and other laws of the state of Texas. And whereas the city of Robinson is committed to the notion that our legal system is based on the principle that an independent, fair, and competent judiciary will interpret and apply the laws that govern us, and that judges and court personnel should comply with the law and act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. And whereas Robinson municipal judges are not policymakers for the city of Robinson, but they are bound by the law and the canons of judicial conduct, and are required to make decisions independent of the governing body of the city council, city officials, and employees. And whereas the city council recognizes that the constitutional laws of the state of Texas contain procedural safeguards in criminal cases for all defendants, including indigent defendants, and supports the Robinson Municipal Court in complying with such requirements. Now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Robinson that the week of November 4th through the 8th, 2024 is hereby recognized as Municipal Court Week in recognition of fair and impartial justice offered to our citizens by the Municipal Court of Records.
Debbie, where'd you want to put something? I know, like Chris up there, come up there for a picture, Chris.
Yay!
Yes, we want Chris.
Here we go.
Go, Chris.
The cool keychain.
Part of my look.
He means business.
You know you're good with the camera.
He did it too.
See the court officer? What did he do?
You'll see the picture.
always
You'll see the
smiling.
picture. He tried to shrug off the like in the camera comment, and then he went into full on Chris.
He was going to suggest, he was saying he'd like to see the workshop extended to a full hour.
I wouldn't mess around with him in the
Yeah,
room.
that's what he wants.
He's very, very serious.
They all think about refunding.
Is this overtime for him? Is that what?
Debbie does all the work from day to day. I just come in here on Thursday afternoon. There's a new statute going into effect in in January. It's a Juvenile Diversion Act, and it has created a lot of work for Debbie, the juvenile case manager, because it's gonna give juveniles in non-traffic offenses an opportunity to divert their case and keep it off of their record one time a year.
Oh,
And so that starts in January, and we've been working on getting that all together. We just about have it all together. So. It's
Yeah.
a lot more work for Debbie and the juvenile case manager, not too much for me. It's supposed to, keep these juvenile defendants out of court
yeah.
and give them an opportunity.
We
to
appreciate
take
you.
advantage of it, to keep things off the record. Anyway, thank you for this recognition.
Appreciate
Ms.
it.
Cutler, we thank y'all.
It's something to you
Yeah.
too, is that, over the years, of course, I went to school with his son. No, and, but through the years, I have seen the judge at work and seeing what he does, especially with youth, and giving chances and helping people. I mean, you're not at your best when you're walking in this door. Your
Yeah.
head's hanging a little low, wondering what you can do. He's the man with the gavel sitting up there, and he's gonna judge you. That's what his job is. But he's done it with compassion, and he's done it, with great respect for me, and I appreciate it greatly, and all the work done with the court system. So, again, let's give him a round.
Thank you, Mr. Cutler. Debbie, thank you.
And the bailiff's done a great job too.
Yeah.
All right, item 7 is a presentation that I've been pretty giddy about here for a little while. This is a Texas Economic Development Council Award. This, I made a post on social media about something big's coming to Robinson, and people are like, oh, we're getting a Costco, or something about a
Chick-fil-A.
ice cream machine being repaired, so, you know. But no, it's not. This is not a business. This is not something that's coming into Robinson. This is the foundation of what's coming to Robinson. It is, it just shows where we have come in a relatively short period of time with being able to grow our relationships. And I'm pretty proud of it myself. I'm proud of the council. I'm proud of Craig. This award really highlights the work that Craig has put in for us, okay? We know that every couple of years we get together and we have a vision workshop, and Craig has that placed right in his office. And one of those top things is what? Economic development. We have pushed that for several years, is how to push and share the tax burden from our homeowners. So when these projects that you hear come in, Project Code Word, Craig is, I say he's pulling his hair out, but he's doing pretty good. I mean, he gets calls. I'll let him speak a little bit to this, but I mean, he gets calls from the entities and they're needing information. And he's in that office till who knows when, getting the numbers ready, getting these things together to present. Can we do this? Can we do that? And then he's working with other entities. We work with other entities. This in particular, this award is the Greater Waco Chamber, being Chris Collins. Chris Collins was instrumental in getting this award. She is the one that made the application in for us. So the Greater Waco Chamber, the county, being the Commissioner's Court, and the judge, along with the WIF and us. So that was the coalition, I guess, to make these measures met for the Walmart Milk Processing Center. There were
I think in this category, 8 or 9 nominees, we were the winner. I can foresee that there's gonna be some more coming. I mean, it seems like as if we're doing some pretty good stuff, so it's pretty exciting. So I just wanted to present this to council. I wanted to congratulate you all for your vision, your forward thinking, and the push for proper development. And I also want to give Craig a huge round of applause, because without him, we would not have this. You get to be this You get to be it.
And I appreciate it, but, you know, I'll go back and say that there's a lot of time to spend on this, but it was not just me, it was all of you. We had lots of meetings. You know, you all gave me the parameters that allowed me to work, to go to these meetings with the Walmart people. We were meeting with Walmart people before we knew there were Walmart people. We just knew it was something big, and it was something that wasn't going to involve a lot of jobs and things, and we had to get things done, and we were competing with other cities. You know, it started with multiple cities. It came down to us in Oklahoma, and it was, you know, who was willing to try to work and communicate to the company that we really wanted you in our community. And I think that's where the WIF, the Waco Chamber, the city, and the county really put together, showing that yes, it's coming to Robinson, but it was really a regional impact, and it was a positive in doing that, and, you know, coming up with the incentive package that worked for them, but also worked for us, so that we weren't, you know, we had one a few years ago, we were a finalist for what we thought we were gonna do, and the other city basically gave everything away for 20 years. You know, we didn't do that. We had to give some incentives, but we didn't give everything away. We, you know, we did our best to make it a win-win, so, you know, it's the first big one. You know, we got MFS, we have Project Justice. Looks like it's about to be formally announced, and we hope there'll be some more. So we'll just keep hard at it and be ready. The challenge is usually the Waco Chamber will contact us and say, we've been asked to submit a proposal, and so here's 10 pages of
Things we need.
information we have to have, and we need it by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So then I'm sending it out to Greg Hobbs and our engineers and all these. So it really is a team effort. It's pulling information together from lots of different sources. Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have, you know, the potential to put the infrastructure in if it doesn't exist? And, you know, what are our capacities and those kind of things, which we've talked quite a bit about that. So the initial stuff comes at pretty fast, and then sometimes you send it all in, and then 8 or 9 months later, suddenly it's like, they're coming the day after tomorrow, are you available to meet? And so it gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
It gets a little crazy, but yeah, we're always available. I think I told somebody in this particular project, we were getting right up to the finalizing it, and I was actually on vacation. My wife and I took kind of a last minute cruise out of Galveston just to relax a little bit, and I'm getting messages, and so we're sitting on the deck, and I got my personal phone, my city phone, and we're crunching numbers to see, you know, they need a little more here, and what can we do? So it does get exciting sometimes, but that's the fun part of the job. So, but I appreciate everything. But yeah, it's a lot of people work really hard to make this happen, and hopefully it's not the last.
MSF is coming along real good, right?
Yes. Yeah, and Walmart's gone vertical significantly. In fact,
Yeah.
we've had several people posting on city social media wanting to know what they're building over off Gregg Street.
Drake Street. I already, was it Ryegrass? That was Ryegrass, right? Project Ryegrass?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what, yeah,
Walmart
that was
was Ryegrass.
the code name.
Yeah, they come up with code names
Yeah.
to try to fool you as to what it could potentially be.
Yeah, I thought it was a distillery or something. It's so fun to guess until you know, and you're like, oh,
County
oh,
Ryegrass.
I know now, but then I didn't. Yeah, very cool.
I know we talk about Walmart a lot, but I'm really proud of the
Oh,
MSF, the
all of them,
metal
yeah.
finishes.
MFS.
Yeah,
Metal.
MFS, excuse me. Yeah, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, they broke ground
Metal
first.
finishes.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They were first.
I'm proud of that whole area and that development,
That whole
because
road.
the reasoning, it took so long for that to go, were some words that did not rub with us well, like Jimmy
Perpetuity.
in perpetuity.
That was a word that just rubbed us wrong.
I said several words that I won't say again. I told Bert the other day that I challenged Craig and Bert about that property and why has it always been a cornfield, and how do we break that mold? And I had to eat some words, and it's not an apology in more, it's a congratulations, but the environment and the mindset of council changed and allowed what we have coming and what we have now.
Yeah.
But 8 years ago, when I got on council, it was a cornfield and destined to always be a cornfield. And so, great job to Craig, Bert, rest of council, staff, because I'm pretty sure Craig was delegating a lot of tasks to make things, so staff gets credit as well. But I mean, it's just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming. MFS got us going, half of John Bowden got us going, and without that, I don't know, would Walmart have bid?
No,
And so-
the first phase of John Bowden really was the key, because we were getting about 2 projects a year looking at it, but no one could envision what it could potentially be, because
It's too big.
they would pull up and jump the curb off the service road and then see a sea of corn or a sea of dirt and try to vision, well, the road would be here and this. So, I think that was probably the key that made it happen was, and again, that was us, the WIF, and the county all stepping up and kicking in money to fund that first phase of the road. So it wasn't a case of just the city did it. We covered the lion's share of it, but the county kicked in money and got that first phase. And then once that was there, I think that told these folks doing these projects that we were serious about making something happen.
I'd like to even go one step further, not to take anything away from what we've done here and locally, but truth be told, Elon Musk had a hand in this, and our government had a hand in Elon Musk getting Tesla into the state. MFS is a vendor for Tesla, and they exist because they moved here, and then that kick-started
The
what we're
Texas
seeing.
Economic
That
Development
whole-
Council has done
So
tremendous for our state.
it's huge.
I was impressed that the owner of MFS is a first-generation American. His family came, his parents came here, he is a first-generation
Now look at him.
And we met him when we
The
did
American dream.
the dig, you remember?
The other side of that is Walmart, what is it? This is their third milk plant. It's the third milk plant to be built inside of 60 years, is that the number? It's 60 years since the last time anybody built a milk plant. So these are lightning in a bottle. We hitting the lottery, I don't know how to describe it to get where we're at, but this is insanely huge for our town. Much less for our state, but our town for sure. And more to come. The Tesla effect I want to keep happening. I want the Amazon effect and the Walmart effect to just keep trickling in. And that is where we're headed.
And we did it without WebMec.
That was amazing. That's another
That's
key point.
huge.
Without what burden?
WebMec, that's it's a funding,
That's the perpetuity funding.
that's the perpetuity fund. That's the city of Waco, the Waco Industrial Foundation, and the county. It's those 3 entities, and they vote to spend money or give money. They literally will throw millions at the line to attract a business in. But that takes a unanimous vote. And we are up against a wall for the city of Waco to want to issue funds outside the city of Waco into our city. So it's a no vote from WebMec. So that was a stalemate. And that's where the words of perpetuity came in, because Waco says, okay, we'll loan you the money, but you're gonna pay us back forever.
Right.
And we said, no, we're not. We're not gonna
No
sell
more
ourselves
bad
to the devil.
deals, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm calling Waco
That
the
was
devil.
30
I'm
years
just saying,
ago.
Yeah, yeah.
per se, don't twist my words.
Oh, God.
That effort was still alive as six years ago. Perpetuity was spoken 6 years ago. Like that was the relationship that we had. It was we're getting our piece first. Meaning Waco was getting our piece first, and whatever else was
We
left,
get the
you guys
crumbs.
had.
Yeah.
We jumped the line.
We had a
And now
conversation.
control our destiny.
That conversation was, is we fully understand that your constituents needs to make money for your constituents. It needs to make sense for the city of Waco, and we're not afraid of paying you back.
with some interest, you know. So we had an option that was there, but it just came to, we didn't need it on either one of these projects.
That's awesome.
So and really you need them in those first ones, and now that you have them landed,
Yeah.
Won't
you're
need
good.
hopefully we won't need them.
Yeah, funded itself.
And that's huge, now that it's not a roadblock, that was a wall. It was a wall, we hurtled.
Offline, I'll tell you the words that I
Trojan horse.
used to describe that relationship, but I won't, you know, it'll be offline.
Right later.
Oh, I like to hear the Jimmy offline.
Okay, any other comments? Good. Item 8 is consider possible action on accepting the quarterly investment report for September 30th, 2024.
So this is both the quarterly investment report and the annual investment report, since our fiscal year is October 1st through September 30th. So first I'll go over the quarterly report numbers. We began the quarter with a book value and market value of $36,256,468. We ended the quarter with a book value and market value of $44,820,198. The increase was driven by the issuance of the 2024 COs that were issued in August. So the average quarterly yield was 4.98%, and the fiscal year-to-date portfolio performance was 5.04%, and the quarterly interest earnings was $505,445. And then for the annual period of October 1st through 23 through September 30th, 2024, the beginning value was $26,176,921. The ending was same as the quarter, $44,820,198. The fiscal year earnings was 5.04%. Compared to the rolling 3-month treasury was 5.42. 6-month treasury was 5.34, and tax pool was 5.29. And total interest earnings for the entire year was $1,807,195, which is way better than the $150,000 we had a couple years ago. So unfortunately, interest rates are trending downward again, so we probably won't see these kind of numbers going forward, but it's good when you can get it. So be happy to answer any questions.
Are we not in text pool?
Yes, we're in Tex Pool, Techstar. We have money in CDs and money market funds, and of course then our bank.
If I'm reading that right, we're trailing text pool by 0.25%.
Yeah,
Is
because
that
we
what's
have,
not performing?
so we have money that we put in CDs, and typically we will, the CDs come due, depending, we have a lot of fund balance money and things that's unreserved, that's not dedicated to projects and stuff. So we will ladder that into CDs. We'll do like a 1-year CD. So even though toward the end of the quarter, the interest rates are up, we still had some CDs during the year that we're still making under that amount until they matured, and then we rolled them over into new CDs. So some of the investments did not make, the higher earnings because they were, and it's a laddering effect. And so every couple of months we have CDs maturing, and then we'll decide, if they're allocated, if they're project funds and we know the projects are coming up, we may just stick them in a money market account or just put them back in text pool. What we don't want to do is we don't want to put all our money in text pool, because text pool is not insured. The CDs and the money market funds and everything are collateralized. The banks that hold those have to have collateral that if the bank fails, we'll get our money back. But the pools don't, so we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket.
And Techstar is essentially the same as text pool.
So do it.
And Techstar.
Techstar is they're a separate entity, but they're a pool like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
same.
So we kind of split it into everything. So, the thing is, text pool goes up and text pool comes down. I mean, if you start seeing interest cuts, text pool will go boom. But if we've got a 12-month CD that's at 5.4%, which we just did some a few months ago, those rates start dropping, it makes
It stays.
5.4% till it matures. So that's why we kind of do the mix and match. We get that stability in some of it, so that you try to level out some of that. But yeah, in the short term, if you stuck it on text pool, you might make a little bit more, but text pool goes up. It's just like more volatility. It can change from day to day.
And this is something that Valley View watches
Yes.
regularly and advises back.
Yeah, Valley View helps us with all this, and they help us with the solicitations on the CDs. And we just did one here recently, and the banks definitely have pulled back. We did one, I want to say July-ish, and we're getting well over 5%. And the last one, I think we got a few that were 4.5%, but some of them were, and most people, we were still getting, that we typically get a 3-month, a 6-month, a 9-month, a 12, 18, 24. The last one we did, I don't think we got anything over 12 months. They didn't offer any rate over 12 months because the Fed was getting ready to meet, and of course they lowered the prime a little bit. So, but
Council,
yeah, it's trying to just manage that and keep it.
I brought that up because just to stick another feather in Craig's cap, because he brought Valley View to Robinson, and before our investment policy was rather thin, we brought Craig on to do, we thought we had these issues and these were our priorities, and this was one of the things that Craig said rather quickly, wait, we need to change our investment policy and how we manage the city's money. And so ever since Valley View has been brought on board, we've been in a much stronger financial position, and it's also the reason our credit rating increased last year, this year?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah,
And so another
That's that
feather in
experience he
Craig's.
brought with him. Way to go, Craig.
Yeah. We were not investing this
I'll
way.
keep it up. I'm gonna ask for another raise.
You know what? At this point, I make a motion.
I think we just went through that last
It's in your
month.
contract.
I'm sorry, it's not on the agenda, folks. Gotta stay on this agenda item.
Worth every penny.
Yeah.
So Craig, we do have 2 holdings that are coming mature in the next month or so. Valley View will just transfer those over automatically to replace them with.
Now, what they'll do is they'll contact us typically a few weeks before the maturity date, and they'll kind of give us an update of where the markets are and what their suggestions are, and then if we want to go out and solicit proposals for CDs or whatever, they'll put that together, and then they send it out to,
Okay.
they have a whole listing of banks they send it to, and then we also, we have 2 or 3 local banks that reached out to us, so we've given them their information, so they'll send it out to all those. We also will send it out for the Cedars program, which the Cedars it's kind of a conglomeration of banks where they don't have to collateralize the money, because like if you do $1 million, they'll separate it out into 4 banks at $250,000 each, so it's federally insured.
Right.
But it's all done under this clearinghouse, so.
Gotcha.
So they'll put it out there to everyone, and then they'll gather all that, and then we'll have a conference call, and they'll say, and we'll look at the, if it's money, because what we do is we try to take some of the money, just kind of so property taxes are due October 1st, but most people pay them into December, January, so most of that money, the biggest part of the tax money comes in February. And that kind of carries the general fund for the rest of the year. So what we may do is we may stick all that in text pool if we've got a real good text pool rate.
Okay.
If it's not real good, we might stick some of that. We may look at timing and say, well, let's put some of it in a 3-month CD and some of it in a 6-month CD.
Sure.
And then we'll kind of do the same thing with the project funds. We'll look at the project funds and say, well, we got these projects in design, but we know it's not going to go out for bid for this date, and it's going to take 12 months to build it. So we'll do so much of it as 6 months and so much at a year. So each time one matures, we look at what is the source of funds in that, and then we'll internally, staff will get together and figure out what timing we need, and then we'll let Valley View know. They'll go out for bids, and then we'll summarize all that.
Yeah, 'cause
And
it looks
Destiny got to join the investment committee, so she now gets to participate in those meetings with us.
She loves it.
Yeah, because it looks like the biggest holding is a 6-month, so we'll just reevaluate what
Yeah.
the market's doing at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually have Valley View has staff, a lot of staff doing different jobs. They actually have somebody who monitors the markets and stuff, and they send a monthly report of here's what the Fed's doing, here's what the Federal Reserve banks are doing, here's what the markets are doing.
Very cool.
So every month, we get kind of a monthly report of, here's what's going on financially in the world, so that, try not to get caught off guard by, oh, wow, we didn't know this was gonna happen, so. You know, it's like any financial advisor, they're taking their best guess sometimes, but,
Can I get a copy of that?
yeah, we can forward that on to you.
Thank you.
We do need you to, take action to accept the financial, or,
Do-
investment report.
Yeah, I'll make or do we need, have you gone to agenda item 8?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we still in 7?
No, we're on it.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to accept the quarterly investment report for September 30th, 2024.
I second.
All right, motion is to approve or accept the quarterly investment report. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bringing us to consent agenda. It would be items 9 through 13 and item 16. Unless we have anything we want to pull out, we would need a motion to.
I make a
consent.
motion, but on item 16, do I need to speak the number of votes? Is that the right one?
I don't think so.
Or is that?
You can, but I agree with you, but you can.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 9 through 13 and item 16 with, with 19 votes going to Jonathan Green, 19 votes going to Dwayne Moss, and 19 votes going to Ben Perry.
Second that motion. Good job, Jimmy.
Okay, motion is to approve consent agenda items 9 through 13 and 16 as stated. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for those items, bringing us to item 14, regular agenda public hearing. Conduct a public hearing, consider possible action on ordinance 2024-034, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas for a specific use in order to allow for 2 cargo containers as a use in the agricultural ag zoning district on 5.46 acres, approximately addressed at 1037 Tynes Road, also known as McLennan County Appraisal District, property ID 408719. Public hearing opens at 7:07 PM with presentation from Mr. Harrell.
PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. Mayor and Council, this is a specific use permit for 1037 Tynes Road. This is basically 2 existing cargo containers as part of a code enforcement action right now. These were placed illegally at the site, hence the code enforcement action. If this is approved, the applicant intends to keep the 2 cargo containers that are there now, and they'll place a roof and associated support structures to make it a building for livestock and storage for that purpose. I'll touch upon that a little bit more in the report. Ag zoning, ag land use in the area, large tracts of land outside of residential, the land is largely vacant. A little further north on the road, a specific use permit was granted earlier this year for 1 cargo container. This is the site plan that the applicant has provided. Storage container is indicated in the plan, it's the red X that's shown on there now on the aerial. PowerPoint item's not working. Oh, here it is now. This is the containers that are presently on the site, as shown. This is a side view of them. These are pictures that were provided by the applicant. This is kind of a representation of what they're wanting to do with that. They'll eventually, if this was approved, they would come in for building permits to potentially do this structure. I'm sorry?
I don't know if it.
Technology.
Okay. Under 345 of the city code, you can impose conditions on a specific use permit. Several of the items that are cited here, this is within your packet as well. You can place certain conditions for smoke, fumes, gas, odor,
Aesthetics can also be taken into consideration, property values as well. There are 7 findings within city code, those are within your packet. Staff interpretation is provided with the packet of those findings of fact. You can come to your own conclusions in regards to these. Basically, we have issues and concerns from a staff standpoint. Because it's 2 storage containers, this is a little bit more than what's been granted in that area before. There's only been 1 granted. This would be an addition with 2. And also, the proposal to turn this into a building would be kind of an aesthetic situation where it might affect the view shed and the enjoyment of the surrounding properties as well. We feel from a staff standpoint, it could affect the normal and orderly development of the surrounding properties and could open this up to requests in the area for other similar items as well, if this were to be granted. However, you as council make the decision on that. If this were to be granted, we recommend the 3 conditions that are up here. Those are within your packet as well. That there will only be 1 cargo container on the site per exhibit B in your packet. The 12 months would be for cargo containers, you have a 12-month period maximum that you can grant it for the 12-month period. And that there be no structural alterations to the cargo containers as indicated in the previous slide. Now, at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they did recommend approval of this, and they made the date a period of 9 months. So they differentiated from the staff views in regards to the issues and concerns. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Do we have anyone in the audience like to speak on this item for or against? Applicant like to add anything at this time? Name and address for us, and then
Yeah,
anything like that.
Marcus Holmes, 1037 Tynes, currently resident with my wife in the back room. So when we were talking with the planning and zoning, we let them know that it's our goal to go ahead and paint and have it identical to our house. We have a white house with a black roof. That was the exact same what we're going to do. We're part of 4-H and FFA as well with our girls, sophomore and a 4th grader. We compete all over the place with our sheep, so it's one of those things with our kiddos. It's strictly for animal use. There's no electric or water ran to the containers or anything like that. So strictly, we're trying to put a roof to protect our animals. That's essentially what it is.
Thank you. We may have some questions for you here in a minute. Yeah. Is there anyone else like to speak on this item? Step on up, name and address, please.
Shannon Benson, 5901 Rosenthal Parkway. Thanks for serving us, and congratulations on the way that the city has become. It's just a wonderful city over the last few years, and good luck at the polls. So I'm not against my neighbor putting a finishing touch on the cargo trailers, something that would be in line with our current building standards. I was at the planning and zoning meeting, and I think that's fine, that we would do that he could do that. Jerry Woodhouse, he owns 60 acres also on Tynes. He was there, he spoke, he was also in agreement with finishing it to look like it's appropriate with what we have come to expect from the city of Robinson and new standards for our high standards, which I think that we have. And I think other residents would agree with that we should not have just cargo containers randomly around. And 4 doors down, there's another one sitting there. So I am against a permanent cargo trailer. And in the code, it also agrees with that we should not have permanent. But I am also against having a temporary cargo container because, first of all, if you allow a 12-month special use permit, you've got people moving in, and you set our citizens up for failure. So they see there's one on 77. It's on the south side of the road on 77. I think it's on the south side. There's one there, which is a bunch of farm implements. There's one on Rocket Road. There's 3 on Tynes now. So I think people are moving into the city saying, oh, look, I've got a few acres. I can put in this cargo container. And I think it's making them think, without looking at our codes and our ordinances, thinking that that's just something they can do, and we're setting them up for failure. So now the poor guy has 12 months or 9 months to remove it. So he had the expense of buying this, and now he's got to figure out how he's going to get rid of it, or else now he's going to be fined by the city. So I think that's something to take into consideration. And I think there's also other ways for our residents to tackle the storage problems that they have and keep Robinson beautiful. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was the 12-month on times that was?
Anyone else to speak on this item at the time? All right, we'll close the public hearing at 7:15.
That was just, it was a temporary storage for something, right?
Mr. Harrell, can you explain a little bit to the cargo the containers? I believe we only allow this in agricultural districts and, correct, currently?
I think there's SUPs that allow it in the, yeah, that is correct, I believe it's only allowed as specific use in the ag zones, at least in this certain, yeah, in the ag.
I think it's
Let me-
ag only.
I would have to, actually, I would have to research it and verify, but I think it's only specific use in the ag zones.
Correct, I don't think we
That's-
allow it in the rural estates, so.
Yeah, it's just ag.
Yeah, and so if we've seen some containers around the city, if they're recent, they are in ag. They either A, have a permit for them, or they're bandits right now needing a permit, or B, they were placed somewhere in a zone prior to the zone change or the
And in
ordinance
some
change.
In some circumstances, they've been brought on properties and people haven't gotten them.
Bandits.
You know, it's a situation, last couple of them that we've dealt with have been code enforcement actions.
Mhm.
So this is a situation where people are bringing them on property and they do it and all of a sudden somebody complains or our code people see it and then initiates a code enforcement action. The previous one on Tynes, I believe, was a code enforcement action as
Yes.
well.
I read that this is a code enforcement action here on this one. What was the initiation? Was that us or was it neighbor driven?
I believe it, I don't know for sure if it was us or neighbor driven, I just know it was a code enforcement complaint.
Okay. Those are helpful to know. I like to know if it's proactive or reactive, just in the future, but.
Normally, if it's out in this more rural area, it's probably reactive.
Mhm.
Most of our code people, although our city's a large city, they tend to focus more on the urbanizing areas of the city than they do in the more rural parts of the city.
Yeah.
And what were P and Z's thoughts about moving to 9 months over the 12 months that's existing in the SUP already?
I think in the past, they've approved for an earlier time frame for it. And that's just kind of where they went with it this time. They've approved an earlier time frame. I think on Tynes, they did a previous or earlier time frame as well. Right on the
Yeah,
recommendation.
that prior one was for 9 months as well, for P and Z.
Okay, so the previous one on times, that was, they needed it for storage, temporary storage for something, I can't remember what it was. Was that?
It was quite similar to this minus the building proposal they wanted to do. They used it for storage.
Okay, so they were just using it as a storage shed, so it wasn't meant to be temporary, they were wanting it as like a permanent structure, I can't remember.
Well, it's all temporary because you have a maximum life of 12 months and they have to come back. But, at that time, they were using it for storage. I think you guys approved it for 9 months, if memory serves me correct.
I would assume we're gonna see these 9 months, 12 months coming, and then they're gonna renew them and provided they haven't looked bad or
Yeah.
changed significantly.
Well, I
you know,
think
you're
this
probably
is a
gonna be
new
seeing-
way people are creating,
Yeah, so I think, I even mentioned it last time this came, this is one we've gotta get in front of.
mhm.
And you brought that up.
We brought that up the last time, it's coming back before us again, right? Because the vision of 2 cargo containers and then a roof, that's a whole lot better vision than a plain just Conex box rusted sitting out in the middle.
And painting, he's gonna paint it the same color of your house.
So I think we have to get our arms around that. I don't know how to deal with this one because it's 2 cargo containers. There is a vision of making it permanent, whereas everything we have currently is temporary.
Right,
And with that special use, it is temporary. So we as a council need to do our homework. I'll probably put something on that, our last agenda item, so we can get something brought forward to us officially. So I just wanted to say that.
Can we ask?
What are the
these
thoughts on this
couple
one?
of Question.
Well, the problem is they have 2 containers, right? So even if we grant them temporary use of those, you have a cargo container that you've purchased that you now have to dispose of, right? But I guess the special use permit would allow, if we chose 2 of them, but once again,
I don't think there's a limit on the number. I think there was one approved on Rocket that had two.
There's not a limit on the number, just the timeframes, max
Okay.
12 months unless you ran earlier.
We're also running up against, there's talk at the state level in ag, right, about maybe not being able to, of course, that's
There's talk at the state level about municipals not being able to do anything,
anything in ag districts.
right? Just period.
Well, I think that's more restricting the use of land for ag purposes.
But even in some of the legislation coming forward from the state level is going to allow things that you and I aren't comfortable with in any zoning, including ag, but when it comes to accessory dwellings, and that'll be coming soon. And it looks like it's got enough votes. But to this thing, I'd say this, I'm torn on this one for two reasons. And one is the improvements, putting a roof over it. If we came back in 9 months and said, no, we're not re-upping that, man, you already have money invested, that's additional money. So man, I would hate, it's just a risk.
But the roof is independent of the containers, correct?
It'll be
I mean,
built
they
on.
wouldn't wanna do it they wouldn't do it if it's just gonna be for temporary, right?
Correct.
If you're gonna
Their
do it, you're
intent-
gonna do it.
Well,
If
but
I,
what I'm saying is the containers could be moved and the roof stay
Not according
if
to
that
the
becomes a
photos.
problem. So the shed, you're looking for a shed for your animals,
Yes, correct.
correct?
We purposely did this to protect the animals.
Okay, so you're not tying the roof to the containers.
We were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to, you could make it independent
Correct.
of that way that if the containers have to go, the shed could stay.
Then,
Correct.
it, yeah.
so
It's,
back,
it's agricultural.
if I can
so-
continue my thoughts on that, the issue that I have with it is what you're talking about, exactly that. So if you built it and onto these structures and then we said no, man, I'm gonna feel terrible that you've invested that kind of money in it. But on the flip side of this, the devil's advocate side of me says, what's the difference between what he's proposing and the half a dozen galvanized steel barns that were not
Build
built
your
to,
own, yeah.
that were not built to any design standards, that it weren't painted, that are rusted out, that are
Yes.
within a half a mile of what we've already got. So, we are splitting hairs on
Yeah.
what exists in ag and what people want, because, animal shelters, you don't spend a lot of money on them.
Yeah.
And there's some already out there that don't look good, that are about to blow over,
I like the idea of
but that's
repurposing
allowed.
too.
But we're talking about a Conex box, which has a lot longer lifespan and structural integrity.
It's not likely to
Then-
blow away.
It's
Much
it's
heavier.
there. This thing
Much
is,
heavier.
Connexes are gonna be permanent.
Yeah.
You don't wanna move that thing often. But it does provide a lot, in my mind, something that's gonna last a lot longer than the galvanized steel barn that's, the barns I'm talking about.
Yes, yeah.
These are not
Put it together
quality
yourself.
structures, they're not engineered, they're not gonna last long term.
Could also say that, excuse me, Jimmy.
Go ahead, jump on
Could
in.
also say that, Bear Arms has one on the circle. Karen and I just got back from Harlingen, and behind our hotel were 4 of them.
City of
for-
Waco
for
just
some
allowed
saying
an entire
A whole-
venue to be built.
literally.
We're talking about a rural
Completely
area
open.
that's acreage, 60 acres, 40 acres, 30 acres, whatever. We're talking about a rural area here. And-
Bert, you remember there was one in Austin, down where between 4th and 5th Street. Yeah, so this is coming.
Uh-huh.
But going back in a rural ag setting, I'm comparing it to another structure. Hey, you go build your barn out there. We're not going to tell you can't use the galvanized steel. So comparing it to that and what's already existing in ag, where is this different?
Right.
That Conex box is actually stronger. It's going to last longer.
It's basically what we're saying is gonna describe it under a construction material.
Yeah.
To where it can be used, but then it may fall under other standards for having to be painted, or
I think
it
that
has to
would
have an aesthetic. We're talking about, we need to
come up with
make
some
sure
type
that
of-
we are incorporating this into an ordinance.
Also
Right.
in the same neighborhood, same section, in that same half mile, I noticed there are some high-end sheds out there. Some have solar lights. They've gone to some greater lengths. They're very nice in that same general area. But so it's kind of hard for me to say no to this when I know that there's something out there that's already, not something, there's about a dozen of them that are already at what I would consider a lesser standard.
And you're talking about aesthetics, then shrubbery could be used. Any kind of shrubs,
Yeah, those
top that would be
sheep and
8
goat
feet
will
tall,
love it.
to hide them.
I agree with Jeremy that we need to come up with an actual plan on what
Yes.
is allowed.
Yeah,
because
Because
we
this
need to
right
have-
here is just a temporary Band-Aid.
Yeah, we're punting, we're playing kick the can. We're kicking this problem down the road every time we grant this SUP. This is,
And both times, both cases, these were individuals that have come to want to improve, not just to have something out there.
yeah,
But make a really nice structure, whether it's electrical or non-electrical roof, whatever the case may be.
I would love to go back to the days of where we said you had to build brick and you had to build certain, types of structures, but we can't even do that in SF1, SF2, or SF3 right now. We can't dictate the materials because we're in ag and we're talking about.
beef's gonna go up.
Yeah.
So what
Well,
can
I'm
we
not
do
saying
about
for
this
barn
one
structures,
tonight,
but
and then we can revisit
This
a
is,
new?
this is a solid,
Exactly.
this is ag. I'm just saying, I'm not saying, well, I want to build nice brick barns.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, if I've said that, I apologize. But I'm saying that we are in a very rural part of town with this one. We've already set a little bit of precedence. We approved one.
So
I'm
think
okay with it.
think about the herringbone. You mentioned it just a little bit ago. It was originally called the Containery downtown
The
Waco.
cannery, yeah.
Yeah.
And if anybody drove down there and saw it, it was multicolored, and you wondered what in the absolute
Yes.
world are
Legos,
they
look
building?
like
Because
Legos.
this looks horrible.
Yes.
It went through a couple different owners. Then these guys from California bought it, and they painted it all. And
Looks
now it is a really cool venue.
Yes.
It blends in with
It
ag.
is really cool.
Blends in.
And
They do cool
downtown.
things with
So
storage
what?
containers.
So again, if we, are the neighbors okay with aesthetic wise? If we got to write ordinance in here, law of saying if we're going to allow things like this. Obviously, if I'm a neighbor, I wouldn't want to. It wouldn't look like a set of M&Ms out there.
Right.
One yellow, one red.
Yeah,
I'd want it if it matches the house or things like. You're gonna have to paint these things.
absolutely.
When you build a new metal barn, you're picking your color
Mm-hmm.
of your barn color, and even if it doesn't match your house, it's still of new material, of a
Right,
new
not
finish.
rusted ugly.
These Connex boxes are going to have to be redone or
Uh-huh.
refinished to where it has a new, again, that doesn't look like M&Ms.
Had you seen these plans before with the roof and the connex to the sides? You have? Okay, you saw them at P&Z? Okay.
Can I ask you that as a neighbor? How do you feel as if these building materials went out and they had to blend with the house colors?
I think it needs to be finished in some kind of, something like a regular barn. Otherwise, it's just nuts and bolts sticking out. I'm more traditional. I like the traditional look of buildings and not containers. To me, they're useful, they have their place, but Robinson is growing, and we own a large area right there, which we could potentially develop one day into 100 homes or more. And that's just going to bring down the value of those homes.
Currently, A&M is actually pushing containers as well on storage units for agriculture within 4-H and FFA currently. I know the president of a couple departments at A&M and talked to them directly. And so that's where we got the idea from directly, because our kids are in 4-H and FFA.
Yeah.
We do wanna make it look nice.
For sure, yeah.
Really nice.
We just have
We're stuck because this is something that's new. So both of you, we see both sides. We're trying to figure out, can we make this work? Will it work? Can it work?
Myself, there's the other neighbor just down the road, 60 acres, he's just worried, development later on, and 10,
All of our
20
neighbors
years.
around us are in agreements with us as well.
Could we,
May I ask
Could
Ms.
we-
Benson a question?
Go ahead.
I was gonna, this is Ms. Benson, correct? Ms. Benson, okay, make sure I have that right. So you mentioned you like the traditional style. I have a couple of thoughts on that. So I don't know where your residence is, but across the street on Rosenthal, there are already several existing pole barns. And when I say pole barns, they are not engineered, they're not framed, they are the traditional barn with the rusted out galvanized metal siding.
We have one of those.
Oh, and that's the look that you like. So, yeah, right.
Oh,
So-
vintage.
So when we get, So we're not even allowed to tell, like, a homeowner what siding they can put on their house. We can't restrict, we can't
We used to,
we
can't
used
do
to be
that
able
by
to,
law
but the
anymore.
state took that away. The city of Robinson, like brick homes, that was we wanted brick homes, but we don't get that choice. So as a council, I don't have the ability to say, well, you gotta build out of this material or that material. My thought is, I think they all have to have some aesthetic value. Whatever it is, whether it's a nice corrugated steel, whether it's a brick structure, because he can go build a building right now that you won't like, that does meet our code. I can't stop him from doing that.
I'm not worried about that, it's cargo containers, just. a
It,
cargo
it,
container.
it bothered me for a long time. Cargo
Going
containers,
forward, I would think that Robinson would try to adhere to the standards as much as possible as they can, because we built on our rural acreage, and we were told we had to come here and try to get a special use permit in order to put siding, hardy plank, on the side and the back of our house in 2015.
That was when they only wanted brick,
So
right?
was that before?
That was before
Which,
that was
that's a
during the
home,
masonry.
and that, excuse me, I'm sorry, but that's a home, that's, there are different standards for housing, you know.
and
Than
hardy
there is
siding is
for
a
barns
masonry
and
product.
cattle.
I was not for that.
We're looking at 3 cargo containers.
Yeah.
How far, I mean, because I didn't get a good sense of from the street, how far they're back. Are they're visible? Like, you could see them as you pull out of your
There's no
drive?
trees up and down this area,
House
so
is on
it's,
the top of a hill, and it actually descends 60 feet down, actually 60 feet in elevation below our home. And the actual containers are 600 feet below our home from the road.
600 feet.
Yeah.
600 feet, because our property goes back 1,100 feet
Yeah.
from the road.
I would say, in any other district, I'm opposed to these.
Right.
Period. Just not. You know, in ag, they are useful. They are highly useful. And I don't know if, I mean, we'll probably, everybody will differ on what a traditional barn should and shouldn't look like. Painted, unpainted. Some like them painted maroon with A&M, some like them painted some other colors. They get pretty fancy. But I can't tell him, he can go build one without asking us that you're not gonna like.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah, well, you couldn't stop it, I couldn't stop it. If he decided, hey, I'm gonna get rid of the containers and I'm just gonna build a shop, he could build something you don't approve of still.
They are right now in code, they're not allowed permanently, on a permanent basis.
He can apply for an accessory dwelling and paint that thing the color that you don't like. I can't stop him from doing that. So, and I'm playing devil's advocate. Again, I don't like these in a lot of our zoning districts, but ag, it has some purpose.
It does have.
But if he went and built I mean, that's a large piece of property. He could build a very large barn.
We're not gonna make you take
And
your
paint
old
whatever
barn
he
down
wants on
because
it.
somebody doesn't like it. Somebody might look at it and say, well, that's old, it's ugly, it's got rusted metal on it. I mean, that's ridiculous. We wouldn't do that either. We can't do that.
I didn't do it before asking.
I get it.
Well, very good point.
He's
there.
asking.
We've had that
So
argument.
I guess where we need to move, if I could say this, is that P and Z has approved it. Now, here's our P and Z guy sitting right here. They've approved it for 9 months. And they had some exceptions, and David just mentioned to us about what they'd like to see happen, you know, as a staff if we approve it. I want to make a motion that we approve it, because we've set the precedent, we've already, you know, approved others, and if we would approve with the conditions that you've got to paint it the same color of your house, that, and any other stipulations you guys have, but, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Can I get you to withdraw your motion for just a moment?
Sure, I withdraw.
I don't think you can. You spoke.
he can, we don't, yeah, you just seconded it by saying that.
Good job.
You just seconded it.
I said good job.
So,
We've already approved, well, there's several.
Well, my comment was, can
Go
we
ahead.
table this until the council can get, like Jeremy's wanting to do? We're kicking this
Right.
down, we're
Bring
kicking
an
this
ordinance
can.
for it.
Bring an ordinance first, table it, and then have them come back.
unfortunately, we got a motion, so it's either approve or deny at this point.
Misty, are we okay, or do we have a motion, or do we not?
Well, can I withdraw my motion? Because I personally don't mind. Well, he didn't second it.
Yeah, I don't think I.
He didn't say I second the motion. He said, can you?
If you tell me he didn't second it, we're open. Then
I didn't hear him
I'll live
say-
with it.
He did not
You
yeah.
don't have to say it.
He
Just
asked me personally if I
speaking.
would withdraw it.
Okay,
Right, but he was,
okay,
that's not what his intent was.
okay. Then,
He can withdraw.
okay.
Okay, let's continue talking.
So, I withdraw the motion, let's just continue to discuss. And I'm in favor of kicking it down the road rather than denying it. We already have some, it's rural for heaven's sakes, they've got them at Bare Arms, it's ridiculous. It's a very sound structure. I mean, from a building, you're a builder, from a building structural standpoint, it's more sound than a lean-to that people throw up in or approved. It's a, we're talking large acreage out here.
I just
It's
have
not
one thought.
visible. It's 600 feet from the road. Sure, I mean, you can get binoculars and see anything, but, I mean, I don't know, and excuse me, I'm not trying to be rude to you, it's my opinion, your opinion, but I think we already have containers. These people are trying to have an ag project for their children, for heaven's sakes, and without spending a ton of money. I mean, what are we gonna do then? Go and start making, ordinances to where people have to build a really expensive structure to house animals? I mean, it's just
Yeah, I like the
ridiculous.
structure.
Let me
too.
first ask the applicant, is it okay for us to table this item till the next month?
Problem is that we're coming into the winter months.
This is up to you whether we
Tarps
table it or
for
not.
animals, Because we're not allowed to do anything on our property to protect our animals. And they won't let us do anything, so
Wait, we have them twice a
we're
month.
handcuffed for winter months with tarps over our animals.
We'd like to get the project rolling so we can have some cover for the animals through the winter. We'd like to get
What?
them painted and just have wanted to do anything.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you don't wanna put money into it if you're gonna have to move them off or
I'm
whatever.
gonna resubmit.
I just have one thought.
Master George.
Go ahead.
All right. P and Z recommended a 9-month short SUP.
Yes.
If we were to go ahead and grant the 9 months, it gives us a lot of time to enact and devise an ordinance that would address a lot of these issues that we're discussing tonight, and yet still let them continue ahead with what they have planned and put this off in a period that we can actually work on it.
There's one question though.
Go ahead.
The animal, silly question. Animals going inside the cargo containers? Probably not. It's just the shell or the roof is what's covering the animals?
Curious, does it matter?
Well, it does because this right here, the 9-month, I don't know if we're saying they can go ahead and, I don't want to give someone the green light of making a permanent structure if I don't know what our end product will look like from an ordinance perspective.
It's
If
9
the animals
months.
aren't going inside the container, they have to have the roof.
We were told that we couldn't do that
Right.
by the city, that we could not, we wanted to originally have them, to cut into them
Right.
and utilize them.
So by,
The city wouldn't let us.
Why is that?
He said that we couldn't.
It has
I mean,
doors.
I would have fully expected to cut these open and have bays for
It has doors. Why would you have to cut into it? It has doors, correct?
David, tell us why.
I think the issue with that is from a building code standpoint. And this thing is incorporating the structure, a cargo container, which is a structure, a cargo container, which is a structure, and you're putting rafters on here and you're putting a roof on it. I think it's a situation, and also when you turn it into a building, you have to put it on an engineered foundation. You can't just sit on the ground. So you have to do an engineered foundation for that, for those cargo containers, because now it's going to be a building. I think it's going to be difficult for them to do that, which is probably initially why they were saying, they said this, from the city standpoint, this could not be done.
That's if they tie the roof in, you're saying, David.
That's if they make it a building, they put a roof and everything on
Yeah.
it, correct?
What distinguishes that from a barn?
Could y'all come up here and talk to us? That's what I'd like to see you do. Could you please do that so we can just kind of get some
So
reason in this
a
thing?
barn is a building, and a barn over a certain size requires building plans and structural plans and all that. If it's over a certain, what's the
200
threshold?
square
200
feet.
square feet. So if it's a barn or a pole barn or whatever, 200 square feet, it requires a building permit. And again, it's structural. And we do in our current
200?
ordinance
200.
allow the modification of shipping containers into structures, basically. But there are certain building codes that are designed for that conversion that have to be met, and they have to submit plans to show that, I mean, they can be turned into accessory dwelling units and things like that. They're no longer shipping containers then, they become structures. So, but you can't, I kind of see what Mr. Earl's saying, to just cut a hole in it, what does that do structurally to it, and that kind of stuff, because when you set it out in the field as a shipping container, you're gonna use it for storage, it's all self-contained. When you start modifying it, you're now turning it into a structure.
I own one, Craig, that it was a 9x9, and it's on a different property in a different county, so you guys don't have to worry
Good, so I'm
about
not
me.
gonna, I was gonna report.
But they cut the holes to put windows and doors, and is this what you're talking about? To put a door for your animals to come in and out of it, correct?
That's what we wanted.
So it's a more solid structure, because the steel is for the cargo container to go from China to the United States on top of a ship exposed.
So did you originally only want one but got two because you thought about the roof? So originally you just wanted one cargo container?
I guess you could open up one end of the cargo trailer though. Their cargo container, and they can get in it.
I mean, they've got doors on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said no.
Well, you're not affecting the
Well,
structure.
I have a question, if I may. On
Mr.
the,
Rogers.
the idea of just putting up not awning, but like a carport adjacent to, what are the requirements?
If it's 200 square feet or more, it requires a building permit.
I mean, easy enough, so, but like, would there be anything to permit if you paid for the permit to do something of that nature?
You mean build a carport?
Build a carport, it still need concrete under the carport, still needs a roof and all that has to meet today's building code.
Correct.
He can do that in between the two? But where does the code say he couldn't or can?
I see where you're going.
And
I mean-
bottom line, if a future building meets our zoning requirements, meets our building code requirements, we should permit for it, okay? And it depends on almost all buildings require an engineered foundation. Over a certain size, they have to do an engineered foundation. So I don't know it depends on how they're gonna build the carport, how big they're gonna make the carport, that sort of thing, that influences what they have to do.
Yeah, and well, to do it, you're gonna have to do a concrete pad for any structure. No.
In
A pole
rural
barn, you
area,
would not
Jimmy,
put a concrete
for
floor.
animals, you
A
don't
pole
put a
barn would be
concrete-
engineered to go in the ground, supported with
Okay,
footings
even
and
better.
dirt floors.
Even better.
There's no concrete.
So there's nothing saying that he can't put up this carport. The only thing that we're doing different than he's proposed, or that he would do different, is it's not attaching to these structures, therefore not making them permanent. And then there's the structure that's gonna shelter the animals. If in 9 months we come to an ordinance that says, no, we're not doing this anymore, you're still on the hook for having to remove them.
Okay.
And you can do that without having to disassemble your carport or the structure you've attached to
Or
it.
remove the roof. Can they just not store their animals, open up the doors and have their animals be able to be in the storage container? Like,
Yeah.
is there,
That's
what we
where.
that's what they wanted to do, so if you might take out the roof, I mean, can we just not grant them permission to have a
That's
car-
where I was headed.
Oh,
That's where I was headed, because today he can't, the permit that he's asked for is just to keep these two. That's all we're talking about.
yeah, okay, cause I
So
mean, I would,
what I was leading to is whether we decide yea or nay on that. If it's a yes, then he can put in a separate building permit for building a,
Or a canopy. It would
But
be
he doesn't
not a
even-
carport.
he
a
didn't even,
canopy.
he doesn't even want to, that's an added cost that he probably didn't want to incur.
and that
But because he's
goes
small.
to the point I was making to the Bensons, because we can't stop him from doing something of this nature. We can't just say, hey, property owners, you can't do it if your neighbor doesn't like it. They're gonna be able to build something that you probably aren't gonna be happy, even if they meet every building code we have for this type of structure.
That's
So
a
it goes to my point is,
I wasn't asking to build something.
I
I wasn't asking that.
But that's what we get into.
One of my biggest points was that this is a temporary thing,
Mhm.
and people see this, so they say, like he did, I just moved here, I'm gonna put these because the other people are doing it around here. And you're setting our citizens up for the
We've already had that conversation. We've had that conversation on several occasions about precedents and what we allow and don't allow. That's where SUPs are kind of a blessing, because we can say yes or no on these type of permits. But we've already had the conversation that we gotta figure out what we're gonna do, because kick the can is a dumb game to play. Just, I mean, you're investing money. I don't want you to go drop a few more $1,000s into this project and then turn out that I've gotta tell you to take it down. I'm gonna feel like a really bad person at that point.
David, why can't they house their animals in the container itself? So if we approve that they can keep the containers on the lot for X amount of months, is there a,
The question is there an ordinance? Should we research, is there an ordinance to keep them from putting animals in the container?
I don't know if we have an ordinance or anything in regards to that.
If they just wanna open the door, I wouldn't think there would be, I mean, state law,
Why
there
would
are
there be?
requirements in the animal code, they're supposed to provide animals, including livestock shelter. So,
Shelter and,
I think the question comes if you start modifying it, it no longer is a shipping container.
Right.
It starts becoming a structure, and that's where we get in that
Take the
gray area.
well, the
door
modifying
off.
But if
part,
it's just
We can
opening
let
the
the
door and
animals
putting some
come
hay
in and out.
inside to let the animals go
Simple.
in.
I don't know if there would be any issue with it or not from that standpoint. The issue at hand is we've got cargo containers that will be a structural component of a building.
well, not if we let them keep the cargo.
It was
And
originally for the two containers just to stay on the property. We went forward with the roof to protect
Because-
animals because he wouldn't let us in them, utilize the animals
Are
inside.
you willing to say you're not going to put the roof on, just have the two containers?
Well, yeah,
That's
who
what
wants to
we're
pay for
talking
that?
about.
If you don't,
Protect
yeah,
animals.
yeah.
Trying to figure out how to utilize them for shelter for the animals.
For
And
sure.
P and Z's
So then that's
already
what-
approved it in
then-
their minds.
Keep it
Then council,
decent.
Yeah,
council, that's what we have in front of us.
yep,
Do we want to allow an SUP for, it's not even on a roof. There's no roof here.
just, yep.
This is just about, do you want to allow 2 cargo containers on this property? Correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
And then we'll revisit ordinance stuff.
Temporarily,
Come up
we're
with
talking 9 months or 12, whatever we decide.
Well, for
P&Z
now-
said 9, so surely within 9 months, we can come up with even if we have to have a workshop, an ordinance or rules that we want to follow about it. But
What are you thinking, Jimmy? I mean,
So,
Jeremy.
so you're clear that if a motion is passed to approve this SUP, it does not approve a roof?
Correct.
That's a separate thing to do with the building.
I would have to go
Permitting.
put the building permit in, we've already discussed.
Okay.
Him and I have already discussed that, and that was why the planning and zoning did approve, because I said the second step to this is getting this taken care of to where I can then go put in the actual building permit for the roof.
Okay.
If we don't need to.
Which would then
put our
snowball
animals
into-
inside, then
Yeah,
that's originally what we wanted.
And our precedent is 12 months. That's what we've allowed before. So personally, I don't see why we wouldn't stick with the same precedent and give them 12 months to get this worked out. Give us 12 months to get our act together as a council to decide how we want to go forward with these.
So, two
Want
things
me to
real
make a
quick. When the special use permit for any of these expire, each one of these, once we have something in place, an ordinance in place, they will have to adhere to the new ordinance, right? There is no grandfathered.
Correct.
Free.
Well, because they have to get it reapproved in
SUP
12
would
months.
An SUP
expire.
is a new SUP, so they have to conform to the new standards of it.
Okay.
So let's say we were to prohibit cargo containers, just
Mm-hmm.
hypothetically speaking. So if we prohibited cargo containers, okay, no matter if he puts a roof on or not, they're still cargo containers. Okay, cargo container is a cargo container is a cargo container.
Hmm.
Until it's
And-
modified.
And then it's a situation whereby, it's going to be a situation whereby they'll apply for a new specific use, and you'll have to consider whether or not you'll allow that or allow it for a time frame of 12 months. If you don't, then it gets into a larger issue they're gonna have to, remove those.
This is where we need to get ahead of it. We need to, this needs to be on one of our top priorities on getting ahead of it, just.
Yeah, and when you said 12 months, I was just like, I know that's the precedence, but I hope we don't take 12 months.
Right,
Because
12 months
these,
is the maximum allowed under the code.
right.
agree, I'm just saying, I
We
hope
can
it
hammer
doesn't
this
take
out in
us
3.
12 months.
Oh, no, it's not gonna take us
to
12
develop an
months.
ordinance, because
We,
these things are coming fast and
Just a
furious.
few long meetings like
just
this,
saying
and we'll get
12
it
months
done.
for them to cover their animals, that's gonna go by pretty quick, and it, I don't know.
Please remember, we're still gonna paint it, no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, yeah, don't,
The same color as our homes.
yeah.
And you can plant shrubs, you could even make an agreement with your neighbors, this is just off the cut, to cover them with a facade. You can build a facade pretty cheaply, that might look like a barn.
With all the money
On
you
the
saved, you're not
outside,
putting
and
on a
then
roof.
your neighbors can't even see it's a cargo container, it looks like a barn.
Yeah, they do
There's all
stuff, they
kinds
do
of
really cool
solutions
things.
that we're not thinking about sometimes, and I think it's, not, can't, doesn't have to be one or the other, to me every time, I mean, we can accommodate everybody.
Tied up is what is acceptable, because we keep being told that nothing's.
And to me, you're trying to get your kids involved in 4-H and ag without spending a fortune. That's how I see it. And
This
you're
is,
living
this is
in a
so
rural-
something
how
I
many
would
acres
do,
you
like,
want,
this is
sir?
something I would do.
5.5, and there are other acreage that's 20, 30, 40, one, Mrs. Vincent said was 60.
Can I ask council if we have inklings for a motion?
Yes,
I'll make my
Okay,
motion that I started out to make,
there you go,
and I would like to say 12 months. Give them a year like we have in the past.
gotta be
If you
specific.
don't like that, I'll say,
What is it?
point it to me, Misty, sorry.
Page
I'm relatively new at this, so
70.
70.
70. He's got his glasses on, he means business.
I got my glasses on. I can actually read now. Right here? All right, so. Include them, I'm sorry.
And make sure the right amount of cargo.
So, yes, I'm gonna read this just like it is. So I make a motion that we approve project number 24-000561, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas for specific use in order to allow for 2 cargo containers as a use in the agricultural AG zoning district on 5.46 acres, approximately addressed as 1037 Tynes Road, also known as McLennan County Appraisal District Property ID number 408719, Galindo 1 acres, 5.46. I make that motion that's allowed for 12 months.
I second that motion.
Mr. Mayor, do you mind pulling from the right?
Am I right?
You're right.
Am I right? Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-034. Any further discussion? Poll the council, please.
Birch,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
McMillan, Master George,
Yes.
Rogers.
Nope.
Okay, motion carries.
I can't wait to know your reasoning, Jimmy.
I have always, you don't hear me vote. I'm a tiebreaker.
Oh, yeah, no.
So when I call for a vote, you're saying yea or nay, and I will then say unanimous or whatnot to where
Yeah,
it
yeah.
goes through. But you're the one making the action, and I'm got the heat on the tiebreaker.
You're so good. So stay tuned for the conditions.
Okay,
And
so
good
motion
luck.
is approved. You got 12 months.
Make it pretty.
Okay, council, item 15 has been withdrawn, so we do need an action. I'm gonna make a motion to accept the withdrawal of ordinance 2024-035.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion is to accept the withdrawal of ordinance 2024-035. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That is the end of our adjournment. Mr. Stivner, we do have note that you want to have storage containers on for a future agenda.
Yes, sir.
But we will convene at 7:54.
Adjourn. Not convened.
Adjourn, not convene. I deleted it.